Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome. This is a story about Jean, the lady in the house. I didn't know her name yet, but it felt like she already knew me. I could just feel it. With each encounter, she opened up a little bit more and was telling me a story. It was like she was opening up and telling me her secrets. I often wonder what the connection was to the domestic violence in the house. Was it the activity triggered by my husband's rage, or was it the house itself? Was it the residual energy of the past rages that triggered him? I guess I'll never know. So picture this. I'm sitting at the edge of my bed and I'm looking out, the doorway, and then there's like a landing area, and the bathroom door is off to the left-hand side, and then down the stairs. Well, as I'm sitting there, I'm looking, kind of watching TV and stuff, and the bathroom door is cracked open so that, I can see the light coming through, and, to keep an eye on for when my daughter's ready, to get out and stuff like that, she can holler at me. So the light starts to flicker, which doesn't happen, this had never happened before. This was, an unusual event. And so I believe that this was a very powerful thing, because it takes a lot of energy for apparitions, for spirits to, manipulate and flicker lights and stuff. So as the light flickers, she comes through the door, not just walking in, like through the hallway or whatever, but literally comes through the door and materializes, in front of me, in the hallway. And, the light had gone off for just a second in the bathroom as she was materializing into the hallway there. And of course, my daughter let out a loud wail. She was pretty freaked out. Of course, she would be. She was 8 years old. It was pretty intense. And, as Jean is coming, and stops for just a second, the hallway light of the area flickered and then turned off for a second. As it was flickering, though, before the light turned off, she turned and she looked at me, and I could feel the sadness. And as I was looking at her in the eyes, I felt cold, like cold hands on my face, and I could just feel the connection. I could feel her overwhelming sadness, and I knew that we had a connection. And as this was happening, the light in the hallway turns off, and she goes walking down the stairs. As she's walking and descending down the stairs, the hallway light over the stairs flickers and then turns off. And as she enters down into the living room, the hallway light comes back on, and then the same thing happened in the living room. The light flickered and went off. And as she rounded the bend and went down the other set of stairs down towards the laundry room, the living room light came back on, and the light going down the stairs to the laundry room flickered, turned off, and then came back on. And then the light in the laundry room, I can only assume, because, I couldn't directly see it, but I could see the light flickering from, down the stairwell, and I assume that that's what happened there too, because then the light went off and then came back on, and then that was it. So I went in, and I comforted my daughter, and she was, of course, visibly upset. And I told her that, it was the lady in the house, the lady that we had seen previously, in the brown bathrobe with the wet curly hair, and that it was okay. She was just passing through, she was just watching over us, and she just, just left. It's no big deal. And my daughter seemed very comforted by that. Well, later on that evening, after my daughter was in bed, her bedroom door was off to the right-hand side of my bedroom door, and I was going to go downstairs. And as I was in that little hallway area there before the stairs, I looked over and saw Jean standing by my daughter's bed. She was standing over her and just kind of watching, and she turned and she sat down. And when she sat down, the bed moved. And, like it looked like somebody was sitting on the bed. And my daughter kind of stirred and said, "Mom." And for, just a couple of seconds or so, Jean sat there and watched her. And then she turned and stood up. And when she stood up, it was like somebody standing up, getting up off the edge of a bed. The bed moved a little bit and my daughter stirred. And I watched Jean walk, and as she did, she looked at me, and I could feel that connection again. And she faded as she walked into the wall. And my daughter, she turned around and she looked at me and she's like, Mom, are you there? And I'm like, yeah, I'm here, hun. Go back to sleep. It's okay. And, from there, this powerful connection that just happened, I felt like I really needed to find out what Jean's story was. So this led to my pursuit. I needed to find out, what happened to her, why, what her name was, and so forth. So, like I said earlier, it takes a lot of energy for an apparition or a spirit to flicker lights and change it and stuff. She really wanted me to know that she was there and that, she had messages for me and that, we have a connection. And this was the base for that. So I'm going to leave it there. And if you like this story, if it resonates, if it touches you, please like, subscribe, leave me a comment in the section below. I'd love to hear your story too. And also, if you feel inclined, leave the Cat Council a treat and buy them a treat, and they would love that. So I'm going to get going. You have a good rest of your day, and I will be back again soon with more to the story. Have a good day. Bye.